Okay, we're live. I'm Cindy, and this is Ash, and we're from the Pound Include Fellowship Organizing Team, and we're here to moderate the chat and move the conversation along with questions that the fellowship participants have submitted. But what we really want this to be is an open forum for the two of you to share your insights and experiences.
Yeah, so just to start off, can you guys tell us a little bit about where you work, what your role is, and what you're currently working on?
Sure. So hi, my name is Meenal, and I work at a startup in San Francisco called ChartBoost. I currently am a full stack engineer, and I started off as an iOS engineer, I switched to front end for a while, and then now I'm working on both front end and back end, so building APIs and working on client side products. So I really enjoy it. I think it's really great to also be part of a startup, so lots to learn from that process, and it's been a really great experience overall.
Okay, I'll go next. So hi, I'm Arti. Well, I graduated from Stanford in 2012. I finished my master's in computer science there, and then I moved to Microsoft, where I'd also interned. So I'm working as a program manager here for the past, I think, 2.5 years now. And yes, so initially my area was in cloud, that is Azure, and now I have moved to big data and machine learning group. So that's what I'm working on, and it's been pretty good. Like, since I interned as a PM and I learned about the role then, because I had no idea about it before that, coming in, joining full time is, yeah, I love the role all the more now. So, yep.
Hey, that's really awesome. Can you both of you talk about how you initially got into computer science and like what interested you about it?
Sure. So I actually started working with computers when I was really little. My father is actually also a software engineer, and so I always remember, going to electronic stores with him and looking at motherboards and monitors, and I always just thought they were so fascinating. So actually, when I was younger, I would actually help him build computers with him, and it was like something that we did together. So I got really passionate about technology through there. When I was 10 years old, I started building my first website, and I just found that this was something that I was really interested in. I couldn't really imagine myself really doing anything else. It's just when I would go to school, I would have teachers, have me help them with their technical problems anytime there's issues in class or something. So I kind of got to be known around school as being someone who's really tech savvy. And so with that in mind, I decided to major in computer science at UC Davis. But I also realized that I have a lot of natural leadership skills. So in addition to my computer science degree, I also minored in a technology management program at the business school, which is kind of like a combination of like a mini MBA program, but it was catered towards science and engineering students. So I got to learn about, venture capital and marketing, but specifically for the technology industry. So that was really great to have that sort of education on top of my very technical computer science background. That's how I got into computer science.
Awesome. I think Hadeel just joined us.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm a bit late.
Oh, no, it's okay.
You guys can hear me? I haven't tried this microphone before.
Yeah, seems to be working. So I don't know how much you caught at the beginning of this, but we're going through a couple of questions that the fellowship participants have asked, and everyone's just kind of going to be sharing their experiences.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
Introduce yourself first before I get to how I joined this field.
Yeah. I guess actually we'll ask Hadeel to introduce herself briefly. Hadeel, could you tell us a little bit about where you work, what your role is, and what you're currently working on?
Okay, so I am a software engineer at Microsoft. I work on Power BI engine, if anyone knows what that is. I went to computer science back home in Egypt. I graduated 2011. I started working a year after that. I've been living in Redmond. If you know Seattle area, I don't know where you guys live, all of you. I've been living here ever since. I hate the rain. But other than that, it should be all good. I mainly work on data sources consumption and big data analysis and all the authentication problems attached to that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure what other things you guys would like to know.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we'll go now to Arti with the question that Cindy had posed prior. Cindy, do you want to repeat it, maybe?
Oh, yeah. So we were just talking about how you originally got into computer science and what interested you in it.
Before that, I do understand Power BI and Redmond, so I'm with you because I live in Redmond too.
Okay.
Yep. But the question about how I got into computer science, I think it's similar to Meenal in the sense that my dad was from an engineering background. He was into electrical engineering. But when I actually started doing stuff was around grade 8 or 9 when I don't know how I got introduced to HTML, CSS. It was one of my teachers who was working on a website, and we didn't have any course in computer science then, but I just got interested in what she was doing and started picking it up. And this was back in Dubai. That's where I did my schooling. So eventually in high school, we do have to choose certain subjects to graduate. And so I chose computer science as a course because I was actually interested in it because of HTML, CSS, but eventually it moved to C++ there. And I guess, yeah, that's how one thing led to another. And ever since then, I've been jumping from one place to another. So I did my undergrad in computer science too, back in India. And then I moved to Carnegie Mellon for research in machine learning, and then to Stanford. So I think it was HTML, CSS that pushed me into this, and my teacher back in school. So yeah.
Very cool.
Hadeel, how about you?
It's more simpler than that. I don't know. My dad gave me a computer when I was a little kid, like about 8 or 9 years old, and it was just, I don't know, love at first sight, I guess. I don't know. I was hooked up at the time. I didn't know like what I will like. I didn't know that there was such a thing as computer science university or anything like that, or college. But then you grow up loving it, and it's time for at high school to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. And it's kind of like the whole family is on the scientific side, but like more of the medicine side. So it was like a natural option for me to go for medicine, and then I was like, well, you know, I really, really feel like I want to go to computer science. At the time, of course, I know that there's such a thing, so there wasn't just other options. It was just, I don't know, I grew up loving it, and it was just the most obvious option when it was time to pick something.
Okay, so that kind of crosses over into our next question. We know that CS can be applied broadly. What made you guys pick the tech industry over other industries?
Well, I think the tech industry, I'm someone who really follows that idea of innovation. I find that it's like a very innovative field, very a field that I feel like affects a lot of people in a positive way. And I'm one of those people that really likes to help out in my community. In high school, I got really involved with the Rotary organization and did a lot of volunteer work. So I really wanted to apply something that I was passionate about to something that could really help people and change the world in a positive way. So I found that the tech industry was a really great field for me to fall into because I got to join those two sort of interests that I had into one career. In the end, I actually ended up falling into the gaming industry. Wasn't really what I planned at first, but you know, it's actually something that I find really interesting. And we'll see how it goes until then. But you know, I think the tech industry, in that sense, is very versatile. There's a lot of different fields you could do. There's like healthcare and like with bioinformatics, and all the way to gaming or doing all sorts of cool things. So I think the versatility and then the ability to sort of join my two interests was something that really drew me to the tech industry.
I think for me, whenever, like even back in school or now at Microsoft, whatever work I've been doing, it does have impact on like non-tech areas. Basically, once you are in a tech field or a tech company, you can still build products which might impact, let's say, I don't know, the tax-related stuff or people being able to buy things or healthcare, for instance, and other stuff. So I've never felt the need that I need to be in another industry to have an impact there. I feel being in the ecosystem that I'm in right now, I still have the same impact. So it's more like working in that company versus working at Microsoft and having the impact there. So I don't feel there's a big difference between the two for me as of now, at least.
Hadeel?
My turn. So first of all, when I was back home, I used to do a lot of charity things, not specifically computer science related, but just like the fact that I'm helping some people with no return, it was just a very, very good feeling. Right now, my brother is in high school, and he wants to go into computer science. The only problem that he lives in a very different country, and I'm so far away from him that I cannot help because obviously I can. Um, the fact that, well, first of all, you can help people in the level of, you're empowering them to go and really succeed in what they're doing in their studies. It's a feeling that, you cannot have a replacement for that. I would like to be in that position.
Sounds good. While we're on the topic of the tech industry, we actually got a question live from one of our participants. Sharon asks, can you tell us a little about what the tech industry is like moving forward, and whether or not it's true that innovations are harder to come by with the boom in technological advancement? It's kind of a tough one.
I can take it. So from my perspective, how it is to work, and well, the thing is, yes, you wouldn't see a great discovery or a great invention every other week or every other day. But what I feel is, with so much technology at the disposal of everybody, it's not just somebody sitting in a tech company having that exposure. It's any common man, layman, has access to that technology. So what's happening is, for instance, if I build a framework here for people who may not know programming, or who may know programming but not, the in-depth of some particular domain, they can still use that to build something new. So what I feel is, maybe, yes, we are not gonna reinvent the wheel or have, discover or come up with electricity, but I still feel that with all the tools and all the technology today, we enable other folks who wouldn't have thought of inventing something new or building something new to do that. Like a person who just owns, let's say, a grocery store or something. He or she now is enabled to build up a mini website or some kind of a tool to reach out to a larger community or larger set of customers than he or she would have done it before. So I feel it's just improving the way people live and interact. And when we talk about Internet of Things, that again is not just an invention, it's something that will keep on going on and help everybody who wouldn't have been in that situation before to achieve the best in their particular field, so to enable them to do greater things. So I think there is innovation, but we just don't see it because it's not this big boom. It's happening at a very small level everywhere. So if somebody has like a bird's eye view, I'm sure they'll see a huge transition from where we were 5 years ago or even 1 year ago to now.
Yeah, I think just to add on what Arti said, I think the tools that we have today are really essential to the success of anything that you do. I think instead of having to start everything from scratch, there's a lot of tools out there now that can really help you, build what you want to build. With that in mind, I think it's really important, especially coming from a startup, it's really important to be innovative and also not to be discouraged. So having worked at a startup, we experience a lot of ups and downs. Now we're doing really well. We've been a company for about 4 years now. So we are really past that startup stage. But back when we were, 20 people, we had to really make sure that we were staying innovative, working fast, working efficiently, but, still having that drive to succeed and do something that, will impact people in a positive way. So in that sense, I think this boom is not really something that you see, but it's something more that you experience as you're working in the industry. So, it's just such a rewarding thing when you're making something or building something for, that, hundreds, thousands, millions of clients are going to be using, and, seeing the positive impact on something that you make in that way. I think that's something that, always keeps us moving forward. So in the end, the tools that you have, the drive that you have to succeed, as well as staying innovative and building something that will affect people in a positive way.
Yeah, thank you. Hadeel, do you have anything to add, or should we go forward with the next question?
Forward.
Okay. So, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your high school self?
Oh, wow.
Oh gosh.
I guess one thing for sure is don't give up. It's really hard sometimes. It's, in the field, you can feel discouraged sometimes. Things can get hard. I remember when I was first starting to program, I would get frustrated every now and then. It's like, why is it compiling? Why is there a segmentation fault in my code? It can get pretty frustrating. But when you keep going and keep driving to really make that effort to be a great engineer, in the end of the day, I'm really proud to say that I work at a company and work at a career that I love to do, and I love coming to work every day and doing what I do. So in the end, I think it was totally worth it.
I think from my side, it would be not to get overwhelmed by a lot of information. So back in high school, I was like, oh, should I learn this or that language or Perl or whatever, right? And I was all over the place. And I was like, now I realize, honestly, you just need to focus on a bunch of things to build your foundation, and you should be good. Like, don't get overwhelmed by some people who I've talked to before who are like, hey, we do want to start learning a bunch of new concepts, but they're like 20 things. What to start with? Or like, should I do all 20 things? It does not really matter. You should pick what really appeals to you and focus on that rather than getting overwhelmed about, oh, those 5 people there know this piece of technology and those 5. So yeah, keep in touch with what's happening, what's new, but at the same time not get overwhelmed by it is what I would tell myself. Because that's exactly what I did before.
That might come out in a very inspiring way. I would tell myself not to worry about the chemistry class.
Fair.
I wish I hadn't wasted that much time on it and so much stress over the chemistry class that I haven't needed anyway. But anyway, that's the different thing. For me, when it came to the computer science things, I would have told myself to try more things by hand and not just read about it. So I am into reading in general. So whenever we had a new technology book, I would read it, but I really fall behind when it came to trying things myself. It's really, really important to look at the debugger. It's really, really important. It's not the same if you want to understand how the compiler works and how the computer passes by its own those buses. You're not going to learn this from the book. Just hands-on.
It's all really good advice. Like kind of going along the same lines, as you know, the participants in the fellowship program each conduct an initiative in their own communities to spread minority participation in tech. So if you were a Pound Include participant, what initiative would you have done?
I would probably teach math for starting from 9th grade. Math is really important. People really have this, and not just math, but rather like problem solving. I would, just give the students puzzles and have them challenge themselves to come up with something that's not the standard way of resolving that puzzle. It's not what if I have it's not something that you had already known, like just think out of the box. It's really impressive that when someone is thinking out of the box, we are like it's usually punished. Like people are used to the standard answer, but they are not, and they are used to the standard thinking, but they are not used to going a little bit further out of the way and just think crazy. It doesn't have to be right. Just take the effort to get out of there. It's really helpful afterwards. I mean, you go to work and then a lot of things cannot be out of the box resolved. I mean, even if there is a solution, probably industrial, it's not acceptable, or I don't know, you cannot break people, whatever, but it's gonna be more challenging this way, and I find it fun to to have something challenging, and you want to sit down and think about it. Just putting the culture of do not think in a standard way in the heads of the kids is going to change their lives, even if they don't want to go to computer science. I would have done that.
I think in my community, I grew up in Silicon Valley, but in this high school and middle school that I was, attending, we didn't really have programming classes. We had like one in high school, but that was about it. I think I would start an initiative to engage people in, getting interested in programming, but to make it fun. I think, sort of keeping people engaged, maybe even gamifying it, seeing, like what kind of interest people would have, or creating like programs where it would be catered towards people's interests or something like that, and then providing like programming that would build something that they're interested in. I would definitely try to start an initiative in that sort of space.
To add to that, I think for me, back in Dubai, earlier, like in school, grade 6 or 7, yes, I would like to introduce students to technology as well as all the other areas actually that they can look at. Because when you're back in school, okay, there's English, physics, chemistry, bio, whatever, those 7 or 8 odd subjects. But what that translates to once you're actually working, that's very different. Like, okay, even if I'm interested in chemistry, what does that mean when I am, I don't know, 21, 22? So I think vocational kind of information, passing that on early, just so that people know what's happening. Somebody shouldn't jump into computer science because that's the in thing, or somebody shouldn't just take up, I don't know, being a doctor because that's what they think is the best for them. For me, I didn't know, not that a kid should be like, 2-year-old should be told, okay, these are the 20 professions that you can take up, but just as you are taking up these subjects, just knowing what is the applicability of this, right? What is the practical application? Where is it used? Giving that perspective, I think, can make you even more interested, So that one initiative, I think I would have pushed for. Even when I was applying for colleges, I still was curious. Okay, if I do this, what's the outcome, right? What am I going to do? And the confusion was always there. So having that kind of a platform, something similar to what you guys have here, a little early on with little less detail would be useful.
So what are your opinions on, or experiences as well, on gender balance and diversity in the tech industry?
So the company that I started at Chartboost, I started 2.5 years ago. First, I was an intern for a year, and then after I graduated, I joined full-time. So at the time when I joined, I was actually the first female engineer at the company. To be honest, it didn't really bother me that much. I remember growing up, being in the Silicon Valley, I was always surrounded by individuals, both men and women, that were software engineers. It didn't really occur to me that there was sort of this gender imbalance until I went to college and saw that, my classes were about like 10% female, especially in upper division, as the class sizes got smaller. So I think it's something that, I don't let it affect me in a way where, I don't see myself as the female engineer. I see myself as I'm one of the engineers in a group of engineers, and I expect myself to be treated equally from everybody else. I think that, my company does a really great job in, not great job, but, I don't feel any gender discrimination at my company. Actually, my CEO, it happens to be a woman, which is, I find her to be a great role model because only about 5% of startups have women as CEOs. So I really look up to her for her leadership skills and the way that she runs the company. I think that initiatives such as like Lean In and like the Grace Hopper Conference, I think are really great for getting people, I guess, sort of letting people know about the gender imbalance in the industry. But in the end of the day, I find myself to be a natural leader. I know that I have great abilities to be a great engineer, and I know that will take me far. So I don't really let the fact that there's this, the fact that I used to be the only female engineer stop me from achieving what I want to achieve.
I think there are two parts to it, like where I work or where I've worked before or studied before. Yes, I've never felt discriminated against. So I think it's the environment has been good enough for me not to even feel like, wait a second, they're treating me differently or not treating me well. The other piece is, yeah, as Meenal mentioned, I've never felt like, hey, I am a female engineer. I'm, somebody in the tech field, which is a minority, as we all know. But I don't know, maybe some other people have had nasty experiences, but at the end of the day, from your perspective, okay, you're a female, you need to make sure, like, not to feel that you are any different. One, feel that you're part of the group and you're doing exactly what they're doing or better than what they're doing. And the second is, I think the only way you might end up feeling a little off is if your environment is making you feel so. And luckily in my current company, I haven't felt that. I have a lot of colleagues who are, a lot of friends who also are female engineers. Nobody has ever, like, we've never had these discussions. So yeah, when I read the book Lean In or I read about certain things, I'm like, I'm sure there is gender discrimination somewhere, but we've been lucky enough not to be at the receiving end of it. Is that what would I say?
I think just to add on that to the whole idea of Lean In, there's one part of the book that I thought was really great. Sheryl Sandberg talks about sitting at the table. Sometimes we have meetings where, like all hands engineering meetings or something like that, where there's a lot of people and there's one table. I think one advice I would say, in that sort of situation is really try to sit at the table. Because I do find that sometimes, people tend to sit in the back and not engage, both men and women. And I would just, recommend that try to engage in the conversation. Don't let yourself sort of just sit back. Try to be involved in what's happening and, just like try to have a say in what you're doing. Yeah.
I guess it's the same for me. I have noticed that there was a lot of gender imbalance back in university. It never really affected me, and I never even actually considered it. My current team, it does not make me feel that I am any less of an engineer because I'm a girl, and I've never felt anyone discriminating against me at work when, even if I'm sitting in the back and not on the table, sometimes there is not a lot of chairs. Even if I'm sitting in the back and there's something that, that catches my attention and something, you have to choose your battles. It's a very big product and, you're considered the expert in one big area of it and you have to be the fighter for this area. Like, you don't want any bad code, you don't want any bad design. So when things come up in areas where when I'm considered the owner, I would fight for it, and my opinion would be argued. It would be listened. Even if I'm sitting in the back, I'll just speak up and say, I don't like that, or I like that, or maybe we should change this. And people would like ask me or add me to curfews about things that I am considered the owner of, even if they have very big fancy titles, and my opinion will still be considered. So. Yeah, I have never felt any like the imbalance is an issue for me. I've never felt like I'm not being heard because I'm a woman. I don't know. I have never suffered from this problem. The imbalance is still there, I guess. I don't know really where this is coming from. Is it because girls do not like to go into computer science, or girls feel that they cannot go into computer science because it's a guy's world? And I am more towards believing it's the first one, because I sure hope no one is putting the idea into their heads that it's just guys' world. I mean, we do massage parties at Microsoft, and it's only women, so and body care and manicure. Oh no, really, we do these things. I mean, no one can say no, and we do yoga classes, and it's mostly women as well. It's women initiative, and we do it, and obviously the company approves of it. So it's not just like we're doing beer Fridays, which is kind of guys' idea. So I don't feel that there is any problem when it comes to that. There might be other stories that's less pleasant.
It's good that you guys have all had like very good experiences in the tech industry. But like for someone who might just be starting out and is finding like the gender imbalance or being a minority very intimidating, do you have any advice for high school and college students on how to deal with being a minority in tech?
Yeah, outside of work, so I haven't experienced discrimination at work, but outside of work, at conferences and events, I have experienced a little bit of discrimination. I remember one time someone came up to me and I told them, yeah, I'm an engineer, and they told me, oh wait, you're too pretty to be a computer science major, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, because that's kind of insulting. So there are comments like that said here and there. I think the most important thing is just not to act like you're affected by it, because the last thing you want is to have someone see you get angry by something that's being said. In the end, just say, I don't think that's true, or, just stay calm as possible. Another thing that I do, actually, that I find very helpful is that I have a lot of mentors and role models that are all women and that are all, leaders and in the industry. Sometimes I attend events or talks that are for leaders that are women leaders that are like executives at tech companies, and I go into their panels and ask them questions about their experiences, just that I can get an idea of what it's like for them. And so having that sense of all these role models around me and mentors that really believe in me and want me to succeed, I think is really important. So for high school students and college students, I would really recommend finding someone who you think would be a great mentor for you, if possible, whether it be a professor or someone in the industry, someone that you know well. I wouldn't just go to someone that you don't really know very well, because I feel like a mentorship is a very long process. So yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing. It's just or it doesn't even have to be someone you know extremely well. Maybe just someone that you look up to. I know, I look up to Marissa Meyer a lot because I think she's amazing at what she does. So yeah, just finding something or someone that you would want to strive to be or work towards.
I think, yeah, when you are, well, there are two cases again. When you're the receiving end of some kind of discrimination, yes, the first thing is you should still focus on the fact that you are skilled and you are good at whatever you're doing, right? So don't let it get to you. But let's say if the discrimination is going on, you just cannot, and it's going to impact, let's say, some kind of a review or whatever, you need to make sure that you just don't keep on absorbing it and like, okay, I'll deal with it, but it's impacting in some other ways, right? If the person is going to harm your progress or your growth. So there, yes, a mentor or somebody who you think is the right person to at least bring it up to or escalate to that, hey, I don't think this is fair or this is working out. The other thing is, yes, as a high school student, if you are intimidated by the fact, okay, this looks like a guy's world or maybe there'll be discrimination, what to do? Again, you guys got to remember one thing, that you are good at what you do. So once you go in, make sure that the work speaks for you, right? Nobody will be able to question, wait, they are not discriminating you because of gender, maybe you're not good at it or whatever. So just have faith in what you're doing is right, but still, if it is getting to a point where you can't just keep quiet about it, make sure you talk to the right people and get visibility into that. So don't get intimidated. And yeah, talking to other people, even if it's your peers or a mentor or somebody you really trust, you will realize the small issues. Like sometimes I know I think a lot. Maybe if I've heard a comment which might not be discriminatory, but I'll think, oh my God, something is wrong with me. Once you start sharing experiences with your peers or friends, wait, they're also dealing with the same stuff. It may not be discrimination. It might be, but it's not just me who sucks at something and is the receiving end of crap. So sharing helps, yes, and bringing visibility to it, if it's really serious, also helps. Don't just be quiet about it, is what I would say.
I guess you just have to be confident in yourself. Just believe in yourself, like you can do this. There isn't anything that can tell you otherwise, and you really just have to go there and try it. I have found my first year in school to be hard, not because of the discrimination, but rather because it was my first year away from my family, and I changed city and I changed friends, and it was a very big step for me. But and next to that was computer science, and it was really, really hard at the beginning, and I was like, I just want to go home. I just cannot handle all this at once. But you really just have to believe in yourself. Just believe that you can do that. Believe that as long as you're, everyone does mistakes. So if you do a mistake and you feel bad about yourself because, hey, now they're gonna say that I made a mistake and I'm a girl, just take this idea out of your head. No one is thinking that, and unless of course they say so, but no one is thinking that, and we all do mistakes. Guys do mistakes at work, and we all do mistakes at school. So it's just the idea of you're different has to go out of your head, and you have to just have confidence in yourself that you can do this. And I think if anyone just expresses otherwise, you really have to stand up for that. You stand up for yourself. Just don't take the crap. Just give it back. And this always works. Like if you are that confident, just you'll be fine. No one you prove yourself once, and no one will be able to disprove you or try to invalidate your abilities anymore. So it takes one time, and it's all gone. And it's good if you give the crap back, you'll feel better. So you don't have to take it up with anyone. Just hand it back.
Sure. Thank you so much for those responses. The next question is, looking ahead, what do you guys think the next big thing in the tech industry is?
A lot of things.
I'm actually the most looking forward to robots. I know robots are being used for in medicine, for surgeries and whatnot, but I don't think it's completely there. So that's one thing. I feel just having technology really make the healthcare industry super safe, in the sense like there's less margin for error. That's one thing. It's like even the smallest of progress can have a huge impact on how today treatments or surgeries work. I had attended this talk or a seminar about how they inject in these tiny robots who go into different parts of body and release medicine in the exact amount, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, I didn't know about it. But I feel that's one area that I feel is going to be huge, because the minute you have those kind of tools in like out there, going to the hospital or maybe even going to the dentist won't be painful or something that you don't look forward to anymore. So that's one thing that I personally am looking forward to, and I feel that will definitely be an area which will see a lot of progress.
For me, I guess it's the cloud world. The cloud world has been there for a while, and a lot of big companies had put effort into making it better. However, since I'm working in the world, there is a lot to do. There's a lot of challenge, a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of scalability and security and reliability, and there's a lot of questions that haven't been perfectly answered yet. Like, there's the idea of services in the cloud that you no longer have to download apps, and you no longer have to lose your data from phone to phone or from machine to machine. Or the sharing of things are easy. There is just like this whole system that takes care of things for you, so things would come to the web instead of coming on the CD. So it's a very empowering and very perfect idea, actually. However, it's full of challenges, and being there day and day streaming is one of the big challenges, like the performance of these things. I mainly work on the security part of it, or the authentication, so I know that there's a lot of unanswered questions. There is just, if someone has great ideas, that would be a great field to think about how this huge thing that's very super complicated could be, first of all, simplified, can be reliable so everyone would like to use it, and could actually hold all the data and do all the operations that you would like to do. I could just like imagine a future where those things do not crash and we have to wake up in the middle of the night, and just it will be it's a great feel. Like the cloud is shaping up, and I hope it keeps shaping up, but it still requires a lot of effort, and it's a very interesting field, and it has a very diverse technology. So if you're interested in something specifically, I guess you will find a place to like innovate in there.
I think in a broad sense, big data is really what I think is the next thing in the tech industry. I know it kind of seems like a buzzword, so to apply that in a more real-life experience. So the company that I work at, we work in data and analytics for mobile gaming advertising. So, we really get to see the analytics every time, someone downloads a game, or like what games they're more likely to play. So even in that field of mobile gaming, we can see so many attributes about a person and what kind of games they're more likely to be playing. So by every day when I deal with like analytics and data, I really see how much of an impact it can be just in the the gaming sphere. Even in the Super Bowl, there were 3 ads that were shown that were just for mobile phone games, which I thought was really interesting, and which was such a high-profile sort of event. And there was even little mobile games, or not little, huge mobile games that were being advertised. So and then in that sense, there's also the whole Oculus Rift and all of that work that's being done to really enhance the whole gaming field. So seeing the big data becoming the next thing, I can totally see it happening in the work that I do, even when it's as focused as a field as gaming.
Okay. Awesome. That was it was really interesting to hear like all of your guys' insights on like what's going to be happening next in tech and everything else that you shared today. And we just wanted to thank all of you, 3 of you so much for joining us today for this hangout and sharing your experience and expertise. And it was really nice to talk to you, and we hope the participants are going to get a lot out of it. We really appreciate all your time and dedication to the Pound Include family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Right.